Hey guys, it's been a while, and we are finally here to talk about everything that we read in the month of May, and it's a list. It's a list, so stay tuned. Hey guys, if you are new here, welcome to the Book Path. I'm Nicole, and if this isn't your first rodeo, thanks for sticking around. So yeah, it has been a while. My wrap-ups are coming out a lot later than they should be. Just a lot of stuff kind of happening, issues with computers, had to order some new computer parts so that we could, have that work. And there's been a few little few days where we had suffered some, or I should say I have suffered a few little injuries. I'm fine. Still like recovering, aches and pains, pinched nerves, like all that kind of fun stuff. Those just became days where I just wasn't gonna do anything. And like I said, summer is here, and I thought that as you got older, everybody always warned me, like, as your kids get older, they don't really want anything to do with you. And I'm happy to report that's not the case for my kids. My kids seem to be the opposite. As the older they get, the more they want to hang out with me. So it's one of the, it doesn't make it harder to read and get things done that need to get done. Yes, but is it a blessing as well? Absolutely, and I won't trade that. So it is a little bit of a takeaway from not being able to do this as much as I would like, or get things out to you guys as often as I would like. But I think we can all agree that when you've got kiddos and they're wanting your attention, you're going to take full advantage of that. So thank you for being patient and bearing with me. So May was our heaviest reading month yet. A lot of that had to do with the Escape the Readathon. So we're going to go ahead and get into these lists. I'm going to try to keep it very basic on what these books are about and like the good and the bad of it, just because there are a lot of them. And we'll just go from there. There are a lot of ebooks and audiobooks that I've started reading, just because it's easier for me to kind of listen to things, get things done, and I'm seeing the appeal of that. And I've found some good ones with some pretty decent narrators. So if you've been watching, that's kind of one of my things, is that the narration never matches with what I think the character is usually. But I found some pretty good ones that have been taking care of me pretty well. So we have that. There's a few arcs. Like I've said in previous videos, any arc I get, I will always give it a fair and honest review, even if it means I didn't like it. Usually I will try to hold off a little bit to talk about that one, just to let other people form their own opinions. I don't really want to say that, oh, because I didn't like it, you're not going to like it, because obviously we know that that's not true. I could not like something, you guys could love something, you guys could hate something, I could love it. That's just the way of the reading world, and I think that's one of the great things about it. So let's go ahead and get started. So we started off our month with an audiobook for A Match Made in Spell by Regina Welling and Erin Lynn. Basically, in this book, you have this world where there's a family, there's a girl named Lexi, and she's a witch that her power is kind of matchmaking. And she lives in this house where she has like these kind of fairy godmothers gone awry. Like they're just, it seems more like a sorority house than it does an actual house of anything else. And Lexi makes her living kind of helping give people makeovers and help them find their soulmates. She doesn't realize that this is something, like this could be a power. She just thinks she's good at matchmaking, kind of. And her family is kind of the keeper of this ancestral like witch flame. And unless Lexi kind of comes into her full powers, the witch flame will have to pass on to another family to protect it. And of course, the girl in question that wants to protect it is like the queen bee mentality that we don't like. There's also a new neighbor in town, Kin, and he's kind of this musician that is starting to get this massive following. And of course, he has a little bit of a thing for Lexi. So it's all kind of good, and you're starting to find all these kind of cute little things about the matchmaking. And then what's going on, where some of the matches might not be working out the way they normally do. So it's kind of like, is somebody messing with Lexi's abilities to matchmake? What's kind of going on there? So a little bit of a mystery there. It was cute. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It kind of was what it was. Very kind of basic in the storyline. Entertaining, but nothing like really thought-provoking or, you know, making you go, oh my God, this was amazing. It was just one of those books that you pick up that it's just purely just a fun little enjoyment read. Nothing too amazing, but also nothing that's horribly bad with it. Basic kind of storyline, basic kind of characters, nothing that felt like I went really into deep with the characters and their personalities. Like there was some development, but not a whole lot. A lot of the twists and turns you could kind of see coming. And so like I said, it was what it was. I recommend it if you're just wanting like a simple, fun little paranormal kind of cozy mystery, if you want to add that to it. I ended up reading this one for Escape the Readathon to find the clones, which is one of our first challenges, and I did it for option 1, which was to use the code word that we developed to find our clones, or to find the alien clones. If I haven't said this before, but for Escape the Readathon, we were all aboard a spaceship or space station that has been aliens have basically breached it and are on it, and so we got to escape the aliens, get to the escape pods. Only one team can get to the escape pods. The rest are going to be trapped behind and left. So we were doing that. So the next book that we ended up reading was also an audiobook. This was The Bear's Chosen Mate by Vivian Arend. This is the first book in the Borealis Bears trilogy. This is kind of a paranormal bear shifter romance, and you have this world that's just in the snowy depths. I can't remember if it's like Montana area or like Alaska. I want to say Alaska, but I'm not sure. But like 90-something% sure it was Alaska, but just to be on the safe side, I don't know. And basically you have this grandfather who owns this jewelry enterprise that's done very well for itself. And he has his son and daughter that they kind of go off and travel, and his 3 grandsons are basically left running different aspects of this corporation enterprise company. And he is at the time where he is wanting his grandsons, who have been pretty gung-ho on the whole business thing, he wants them now to get to that part of settling down. He wants to see his great grandbabies and all of that. So he presents his grandsons with a challenge that they need to find a mate before, like, I think it's the end of the next year or something. And if they can, then he will keep the business in their names. They will do everything. But if they can't, then he is going to pass the business to their family's biggest rivals, which is another jewelry like kind of company enterprise. It's like huge. And so first up is actually, I believe it's the youngest of the brothers, James. And James has always kind of had a thing for Kaylee. Kaylee's always kind of had a thing for James. They kind of grew up together. Kaylee is a fox shifter, I believe. Kaylee also helps out from time to time with the business of James's grandfather. And so it's just kind of, it's basically your friends to lovers. She is aware he's a shifter because she is also a shifter. And the fun thing is that apparently bears go into like heat. The males go into heat. And these brothers have kind of been finding different ways to sneak away and not have to deal with the heat. But now knowing that they have that challenge on them, James obviously wants it to be with Kaylee, and he's kind of ready for that. So this is their kind of fun story. I ended up reading this for Escape the Readathon Command Center to read one of your favorite 3 tropes, and one of my favorite tropes is kind of that fated mates-esque prompt, and this is, it felt like that kind of fated mates trope where he has to find his mate. He believes she's the mate. There is a mate bond that happens. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really liked the way it went. I liked the couples and how they kind of matched each other personality wise, and It's definitely a more spicy series. There is some spice, and it is open door spice to it. But I loved the playfulness that Kaylee and James kind of had with this lifelong friendship. And then you also get to see the little snippets of the friends and the brothers, and you can kind of already see who's going to start to be paired off. So it was a great kind of opening to this trilogy, and I did really enjoy it. Which brought us to the next book in this series, which was also an audiobook, The Bear's Fated Mate, also by Vivian Arend, obviously book 2 in the Borealis Bears. And in this one, we have Lara and Alex. Alex is the kind of security. James was kind of like the poster boy, where he was always in the public eye, and Kaylee's really the shy one, whereas Alex is head of security, knows all these things, very smart, very, you know, obviously can fight somebody pretty well. And then you have Lara, who is kind of coming home again. She's been running security enterprises. She is literally the like just on the other side. So Lara is actually for the rival family that could inherit should the Borealis bears not find their mates. And so you have this kind of enemies to lovers, because there is a fated mate trope in this one. The shenanigans that go on with the kind of verbal quips and the sly little remarks and the flirtiness that goes on. It was great. I love Lara. She is, she's a wolf shifter, and the way their shifters and their community work is a little bit different from the bear shifters. But obviously in this world, you can have all types of shifters together, which was great. But I just liked all their little quips back and forth, and I do like the narrators for these for the book. It is she does a really good job of changing her voices for the different characters, and even when it's like a male character, it's not overdone to the point where it's like kind of ridiculous. So I think she did a very good job with that. So I do recommend this series, you know, even on the audiobook level, because it was well done for the narrator to do. So yay. I ended up reading this one for Escape the Readathon, Command Center's offline challenge, going for option 3 to reinstall all software, but this also counts for Romanceopoly, for our Nightshade Society, the Full Moon Fever, which is to read a romance that includes a heat trope, because I've already mentioned it, the bears go into heat, and it's how these girls come and help them out during their heats, and it leads to, you know, more. We obviously were in this trilogy. We needed to finish it, so we picked up book 3, which was The Bear's Forever Mate. This is the oldest brother, kind of the very much stick to your schedules, play by the rules, I have a plan for everything brother, and Amber, who is a human. She is not a shifter, and she has been Cooper's kind of assistant this whole time. Very sweet, very kind. Her brother has gone missing, and so she ended up over with the Borealis brothers as kind of a side quest, where she needed a job to take care of her while she tried to find her brother. So this is kind of that story where they knew that they cared about each other, but like I said, everybody's kind of got their own schedule, and let me do this first before we find love. And of course, you can't really do that with love. So it's kind of how that happens when the heat trope takes on. This one, I wasn't as much of a fan of as the other ones. You kind of already knew they cared about each other. A lot of it was just kind of, okay, but I still need to take care of this. I still need to take care of this, which started to interfere with the bonding, especially with the bear spirit side of things, which was very interesting. It was a different take on it, which I liked, like how that happened, because you always wonder, like, what happens if just the person likes the girl and the shifter part doesn't like the person? Like, are they two of a mind, or do they have their own individual traits and personalities, and what happens if like they're not in sync? So that was really interesting. I did like that aspect of it, but for me, just plot point line, it just wasn't as fun as the other books. it just, it fell a little flat for me on that one. Still great. I loved the ending with the grandparents. I thought that was really great. And it does have like that whole found family love and support system that is really beautiful to see. But it wasn't my favorite as much as the other one. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. But I did enjoy it. The series as a whole, I recommend if you're looking for like a paranormal shifter romance with like those found family, positive vibes, loving, nurturing, with some fun, some spice, all those types of things. This is gonna be right up your alley, and they're fun, quick reads too. So I ended up reading this one once again for Escape the Readathon for the Med Bay Parasites Challenge to take the orange pill. So that was what I used that one for. Next up, we ended up picking up an arc that we received of The Week We Borrowed Love by Sasha J.B. This felt very much like I could see this being a made-for-TV kind of movie. Not necessarily Hallmark. This kind of falls more into the randomness of like, maybe like a Sophie Kinsella type, you know, shopaholic, where you've got some of the quirkiness, some of the randomness that happens. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was what it was. I think it could have been a little bit better. Like, this was a shorter book, so maybe if they had expanded it a little bit, because it seemed like it was trying to take on a lot of tropes at once, because you had the single mom trope who is, you know, just trying to save up so she can take a trip to Europe that she's been dreaming about all her life. Stuff goes awry. She loses her job. Her parents are like, take the vacation anyway. We'll watch your kid, you know, just go. And when she gets there, she kind of butts heads with this rich guy who is having to take the bus as a way to get down to check on an artist for an upcoming show, and there's really no other way because of the weather. So they're kind of forced to take this bus trip together, her for it being within her budget to see Europe, and for him, his only opportunity to do the business work that he needs, never knowing that it was his family taking over the art gallery where she worked that caused her to lose her job. So there is a little bit of that. There is a little bit of like a mafia involvement element to it. There is a little bit of like a crime thing going on that to me just seemed like a little bit of a reach in the story. I didn't really think that they needed it for the story to be what it was, and it just kind of like, I don't know. It was cute, had its cutesy moments. There was like the possibility of a love triangle that could have happened that didn't, but there was a character, the assistant to Mark, who's the rich guy. Sophie is the single mom. Mark's assistant, I adored her. I loved her. She was the one that was giving all sorts of commentary that was going through my mind. So I loved her, and apparently her story is this in the sequel. So I'm super excited for that one because I loved her as a character. Side note, if you keep seeing the light change, we are having weather over here, so the window is right over there and it's just changing. So it's, yeah, it's you know, lights up, lights down, lights up. We get through it. But yeah, so it was cute. Dropped the ball on a few things where it just seemed, this, because it's so quick, you don't get a lot of that character development that I would like. It seemed a little too insta-lovey for me, which I'm not always the hugest fan of insta-love. I'm not, like, I don't always need the slow burn, because sometimes the slow burn is really slow and drives me nuts. But just like an adequate, like if you're on a bus trip and you meet somebody and you hit it off, that's great. Like, you go on dates, you do whatever, but to like just claim, oh, I'm instantly in love with you, you're everything I've been searching for, like I want to get married, like type behaviors, I'm like, it's a little bit much. I mean, it works obviously in the bookish world because we love that stuff. So like I said, it has a lot of those fun little qualities where it's that kind of vacation romance. You meet somebody you normally, and then like the strings of fate are already in the works. So like I said, I gave it 3 stars. I ended up using it for Escape the Readathon. The command center's offline. Option 3, reinstall all software as well. So this was like the other challenge going back to it. I flipped them, but you know, we do it. I wanted to keep the bear, the Borealis Bears trilogy together. So that's why it looks a little off, because obviously we did the offline before we did the orange pill, but it's okay. Next up, we did our first actual physical book of the month, and that was Psycho Shifters by Jasmine Moss. I was a little worried doing this because I read Jasmine Moss's, I think this one here, The Blood of Hercules. Wasn't the hugest fan of it. So I was a little worried to pick up another one of her books, but a lot of people that I'm friends with on Instagram really said, oh, you know, this was a great one. It had the kind of reverse harem, shifter universe, more up my alley type of scenarios. So I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and try it. Very happy that I did. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Basically, you have this world where there are shifters and humans, and when you reach like your 18th birthday, you're kind of brought to this lake, or your 18th or 20th, I can't remember, but you're brought to this lake where it reveals your destiny of like, are you just like a human? Do you have any powers? Are you a shifter? Like, are you an alpha? Are you a, you know, omega? What are you in the world, and how basically your future is going to unfold? And so you have Sadie, who is an orphan with her sister, not living in the best of circumstances. There is a lot of triggers in this, so definitely check trigger warnings. There is some abuse, or I should say lots of abuse going on for Sadie growing up. She is basically, she comes out to the lake, and lo and behold, she is found out to be an alpha, and a female alpha doesn't usually exist. She is a rarity, and so she is taken to this kind of training academy because the alphas and the betas protect the world against these like wormholes almost, that kind of like open up, and these portals that open up, I should say, that have all these monsters coming through, and they protect the rest of like the humans and shifter kind from that. And at this academy, she meets 3 other alphas. You have Jax, who is a bear shifter. He has a bunch of sisters, like adopted kind of sisters that he takes care of, and that's kind of where his heart is. And then you have Jax is actually lovers with Cobra, who is this kind of snake shifter, who's always kind of grumpy and just like hates Sadie from the start because he kind of sees her as a threat to his relationship with Jax. And you have Asher, who is kind of like this goat or like satyr type shifter. He kind of has this twisted bully kind of mentality with Sadie. So obviously they see Sadie, and Sadie is very small, very petite, because she hasn't been very taken care of. She hides like her scars and things. She doesn't want people to think her weak. But obviously she thought her life was going to go one way. It obviously isn't. And all the while, these 3 shifter guys are feeling a bond kind of forming with Sadie. All the while, Sadie's like, I hate you all. So like, it's a very interesting world. There is some stuff going on that opens up for the next books in this series. I don't want to give too much away with that, but you do have like, not all is what it seems, and not everyone is who it seems kind of going on in this. But I did like it. It's definitely got some open spice to it. This has more of like a spice instead of like an MMF. Like it's hailed as being like an MMFM spice thing, but in this one you're really only seeing a lot of the spice. So you know, like I said, check trigger warnings, check things, because it is a darker world. There is some abuse. There is a lot of fighting, a lot of things that go on. And then, like I said, there is a lot of open door spice and like spicy things in nature. But I actually really liked it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. And I used this one for Romanceopoly, the Nightshade Society, for the Supernatural Boarding Pass, which is to read a paranormal romance set at school or a training academy. This was like a training grounds, training academy. And then I also used this one for Romance Bingo, which was to read a book that had 2 or more love interests. And of course, this is kind of the romance reverse harem trope. So more than 2 love interests. So it worked for that. So liked it, 4 stars. Definitely liked this better than The Blood of Hercules. So next up, we went back to our audiobooks, and we ended up picking a really cute one. So all of you parents out there, listen up. We ended up doing Midnight at the Berkeley Hotel by Flor T. Bradley. This is, I think it's hailed as like a middle grade, but I think if you had like 4th or 5th graders that were kind of advanced readers, I think they could handle this really well. I thought it was absolutely adorable and really cute. You basically have the Berkeley Hotel, who is full of mystery, and it's kind of on its odds, like its end. It's running low on money and things are going on. So the owner decides to host an event, and he's going to give out kind of these tickets for people to come to the hotel and like an attempt at a hurrah to revitalize the hotel and bring it back to its former glory and save it. And so in this, you have JJ, who gets one of these tickets. JJ is a kid who loves everything paranormal, and the Berkeley Hotel has a history of being a paranormal hotspot that has never been fully investigated. So he is very much wanting to go there and really just like kind of begging his parents. His mom has found this like PB&J empire of all these different types of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So like she's gonna go with him to this hotel to explore and see what it is. Then you have Emma, who I believe, I'm trying to think if it's Penny or Emma, I get them confused. One of them is the daughter, or she's the granddaughter of a very famous detective who has since retired, and so they just kind of hang out and chill during the summers, and they're 2 peas in a pod. So like I said, I can't remember if it's Penny or Emma. That is this one, because I want to say it might be Penny. I'm not sure. The other girl lives at the hotel, and you'll catch on pretty quickly to her story. But she lives at the hotel. She is happy that there are now going to be other kids, because she always usually sees the grown-ups. When everybody gets there, you find out that they are there because the owner of the Berkeley Hotel has passed under mysterious circumstances. And so everybody there the adults have had some way, shape, or form, some interaction with the owner just prior to his passing. So now we are having a murder mystery happening, and the kids are involved, and the kids are saying, we can solve this. This would be fun. We can explore. We can do all these things. And so you have these 3 kids trying to solve this murder mystery, one to clear his mother's name, the other because she's the granddaughter of the detective, and the other one's just along for the ride because she thinks it'll be fun. To solve what's going on in this hotel. And you find out that the owner of the hotel, has built all sorts of games and challenges into the hotel. So it's just a very interesting place. These kids are trying to put this stuff together, all while trying to keep sometimes some of their own personal secrets away from their parents. And the parents and all the other guests also have their secrets in how they are related to the incident in question. So it is a family-friendly murder mystery haunted hotel story, and it was extremely cute. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's definitely one that I would read with my kiddos once they're a little bit older. And I highly recommend. I think it's a lot of fun. If you have a kiddo that's into like those whole haunted hotels, solving mysteries, and a little bit of silliness and goofiness and fun, this is going to be it for you. I ended up reading this one for Escape the Readathon for the Medbay, the Parasites Orange Pill, but this also counts for I think it is the our Fantasy Bingo 2026 challenge that we just started. This one, I believe I'm switching this out to cover for our middle grade read, which previously I was going to do, I think it was Magical Misfits. We're going to switch it out with this one and use this one for our prompt. I still want to read the other one, but let's take a check mark where we can get a check mark, because we know everything for our Fantasy Bingo. We need to get that done, and we are going to win that one this year. So we're going to take a point when we can get a point. But like I said, 4 stars, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend as a fun little, you know, middle grade, higher elementary read, family read. Perfect for that. So next up, we picked up our other physical read, and that, of course, was Psycho Fae by Jasmine Moss. This is book 2 in the Shifter series. And I'm going to try not to give this much away, because we have Sadie, we have Jax, we have Asher, we have Cobra. We also have a new person in the mix, which is Xerxes. And basically, I don't want to give spoilers away. Stuff has happened towards the end of book 1 that has led our lovely reverse harem enemies system thing that's going on into a new challenge where they are basically having to fight to survive, and they now have to really join up as a team to survive. Some secrets have been found out. There is now a little bit more enemies to lovers in some of these relationships. There is also a lot more of these guys really realizing that Sadie is who they want to be with. A lot between Jax and Cobra, and them kind of like Cobra really kind of understanding what Sadie means to him. So it was really interesting, a different look at some other components to this universe. But I really don't want to give that much away, because I do recommend this series. I do. So it'll be interesting. Does leave off on another cliffhanger. I have not read the 3rd book, so we will get to that at some point, but highly recommend it. Like I said, I am loving this a lot more than the Blood of Hercules series. So, but also, once again, check triggers. This does have open door spice and things like that. So definitely check that one, but highly recommend. I gave it 4 stars, and I used this one for Escape the Readathon Winston's Lounge, which was a book you found on YouTube. And there were some people that advertised this on YouTube. So yay, it worked. It worked. Next up, we ended up picking up the audiobook for Moonlight and Magic by Dorinda Jones. Oh, I think at this point I should also say that Midnight at the Barclay Hotel was an audiobook, and it was very well done with the narration, and it was really cute, so I liked that one. Getting back to this one, Moonlight and Magic by Dorinda Jones. This I didn't realize was book 4 in the Betwixt and Between series. I had not read this series at all, but I think it worked out okay, because it featured a character that was, I guess, not part of the first 3 books like they're mentioned, but this is kind of like that character story. So it worked as kind of being its own thing, but there were a few things that were kind of lost because I didn't understand the background. But you basically have Annette, who lives with her friend and her shifter werewolf boyfriend and this kind of ghost child that they resuscitated back to life. It's got its own sort of Addams Family charm thing going on. And Annette has come home to visit her family, her mother and her cousin, who's kind of like, let's just go with that. But she's there. There is some mystery elements going on, where there is a missing girl, and she is going to kind of help solve this crime. She also knows her mom is not in the best of relationships with this new guy, and obviously her cousin and her are butting heads because they've apparently done that since the day one, you know? She also starts to see this unnamed warlock, and apparently only she can see him. And warlocks are not always a good thing in this world. They're usually hailed as being a lot more darker and sinister, yet this warlock seems to be nicer. And so is he what he seems? Is he really trying to help her as she's solving this crime? Is he trying to protect her? And who is he, and this growing attraction between them while everything's going on? So it is kind of a murder mystery whodunit, somewhat cozy paranormal world. I thought it was cute. I definitely will go back to the series because the little tidbits that I got about the other characters that are really like books 1 through 3, it was enough to intrigue me to where I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of liking this. I want to see the build up to what is revealed towards the end of book 4, which I did. I don't want to give it to you because spoilers, but I want to see the lead up now. So it's like you kind of hooked me in. Normally, if you know, I try not to read things out of order, but I wasn't aware of this being book 4 until I basically finished it. So I guess it could be done as a standalone. But I ended up giving it 4 stars. And I really didn't use it for like any prompt. This was just one that I was just kind of like needing a little bit of a break from challenges. And at the time it was done, I didn't really use it for anything. So moving on, we went to a new series that is quickly becoming one of my favorites. And the first book in this series is Fries and Alibis by Trixie Silvertail. This is the first book in the Mitzi Moon series. I fell in love with this series. You have Mitzi, who is an orphan that's been kind of growing up like just survival mode, working all these jobs just to kind of pay the rent now that she's a grown woman. And she gets this knock on her door, finds out that her grandmother that she's never known has passed away and has left her some stuff in the will. And it's not her mother's mom. She lived with her mom. It's her father, who she's never known. It's his mother. And so she goes to this town to see if this is really legit, finds out that her mother left her a vast amount of wealth and this library, this like, I don't really want to call it a library, but it's a bookstore that feels like a library. And I love it because she inherits this bookstore that has some kind of magical components to it, as well as her grandmother's like kind of wild cat. I can't remember what kind of breed it is. It's I think it starts with a P. I can't remember it. But the cat's name is Pyewacket. And from the second I heard that, I literally audibly screamed in happiness because growing up, I had a Siamese cat that I called Pyewacket. We named him, my mother had named him Pyewacket after the Siamese cat in the old Kim Novak, Jim Stewart movie, Bell Book and Candle, which coincidentally is the name of the bookshop that she inherits. So I was living for it because it was touching my heart and bringing up like my past so well, and I loved it. I was in at that point. And basically there is a body that is discovered laying outside of Mitzi's new inheritance, her bookstore, only to find out that this is her estranged grandfather who was divorced from her grandmother. And now Mitzi is being accused of killing her grandfather, whom she's never met. And of course she's being accused by the town, and she is being watched by none other than the very handsome, very single sheriff, who Mitzi just has a lot of fun with flirty-wise, which I loved it. But basically Mitzi decides she is not only going to try to find a way to clear her name, this also has something to do with her estranged father that she's never met, who has been in prison for some crimes, one of which he says he didn't commit. So she is going to try to clear her name and also clear her father's name in this book. So I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was really great. The cat has such personality. I mean, everybody in this town has personality. So it's just, I fell in love with the town. I would love to be at this town. It's a great place and I love it. So this one I gave 4 stars to. I read it for Escape the Readathon, Cafe Nova, for you're supposed to pick a treat and hope that it's like not infected or bad, and so I went with SpaghettiOs. But like I said, I really, really enjoyed it. Murder mystery, coziness, fun vibes, found family, just and silliness and fun. I loved it. Next up, we ended up picking up another arc, and that was A Place to Land by June Jewell. This is book 1 in Budgie Bay. This book reads like a made-for-TV Hallmark special. Like, it has all those vibes. It feels very much like it. You can see it unfolding in your brain and how it would be. We've all seen those rom-com made for TV, like it goes straight to the TV type of ones, and we all love them. We all love them, and this one is no different. You basically have Nora and Elias. Elias is basically this very grumpy guy who lives in a small little house, and he has been living there. He kind of took in his next door neighbor who was very elderly in her final times, and kind of built a relationship with her that was very familial and took care of her. All the while, her granddaughter and daughter were living miles and miles away, living their own lives. They loved the woman, right? And the woman loved them. It's just there were a lot of things that didn't work well, like different lifestyles and things like that. And the grandmother has passed away, and the granddaughter, Nora, is now coming to kind of help clean the house and get it ready. She thinks she's going to sell it. She doesn't know, but maybe she doesn't, because she has fond memories of the house. And she's regretting that she wasn't able to go for her grandmother's funeral. And Elias, of course, is very against Nora for the fact that he feels she didn't show up for her grandmother. Her grandmother, who always ranted and raved and loved her, and Nora never showed. And Nora's feeling very guilty of that same thing. So Nora goes, and of course, the grandmother's house is in disrepair. That's why she's been living with Elias. So Nora kind of takes Elias up on his hospitality and lives with him while they're trying to fix up this house. And so you can already see where the Hallmark's going, where you have the grumpy girl or the grumpy guy, and you have the girl that just wants to get it over with, get back to her life, to the guy that she's with that honestly, she's kind of got her questions going about that. And this wonderful little blossoming romance that we know is going to develop. There is a little bit of a mystery where the kind of butting heads of sorts between Nora's grandmother and Nora's mom has to do with the disappearance of her grandfather. He was, I don't know if he was a fisherman, but he was definitely somebody who was out on boats, and he never came home one time. And so Nora's mom always feels he's lost at sea, and Nora's grandmother's like, no, he's alive. I can feel it. You know, I'll wait for him. And so it's a very sweet romance story for the grandmother that Nora starts kind of investigating and learning about, and wanting to build more and be closer to her grandmother through that. And her and Elias kind of start to form this friendship while they're discovering this story. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was what it was. I wanted more in the best way on this one. So one of the things that was a downer for me is I felt the tension that could have been built between Nora, the guy she is dating, and Elias, the tension in that little love triangle could have been dealt with in different ways to add to the story. But I feel like we all kind of knew what was going and what the decisions were going to make, and everything kind of resolved itself very quickly with that, and it was just very easy. I wanted more from the story with the grandmother and the grandfather. I wanted that to kind of take over in kind of like a we fall in love while solving the mystery type of way. That's just kind of what I wanted because of what the vibes were going. But I mean, I think that's a good thing, because I wanted more of that aspect of the story to kind of come to the front and be a little bit more of the plot than just kind of going through the grandmother's things and finding understanding, and then that leading to a cute little kind of romance. So it was quick. It was like there wasn't a lot of tension in the relationship dynamics. There wasn't this kind of heat of moment, passionate romance. It's a pretty clean romance. I will say that. Has a very happy ending. I loved Nora's friend, who's a writer. Her personality was fun and sassy, and I have a feeling she is going to come and cause chaos at Budgie Bay, and I can't wait for her story. So I will be continuing with the series. It is a cute little world. I like it. It felt very much, I'm trying to think of places that I've been to. There's been some islands in the Northeast, and there's been some islands in like off the coast of Southern California, like small little islands that they're their own little community. They're little tourist traps every once in a while. They have a lot of the mom and pop shops, like ice creameries and things like that, that just give this really cute, cozy, place out of time kind of feel to them. And Budgie Bay is one of those types of like communities. So I could see it in my brain as I'm reading this book. So it was really cute. It had this great little setting. I just wanted a little bit more out of like the plot from that. It was a very simplistic plot for me. But cute, cozy, Hallmark vibes. If you're looking for something like that, recommend this. I ended up rating it for Escape the Readathon, the damage control to open canister number 4 labeled, don't use this one, because I felt we needed to use that one. Next up, we ended up going back to Mitzi Moon for book 2, and that is Tattoos and Clues by Trixie Silvertail. Once again, we are back with Mitzi. She has done what she needed to do in book 1. That might give some spoilers, but hey, it's gonna be the series. So now she is up for a new mystery when she is walking the cat. Is it a curricle? I think it might be a curricle. No, I'm not sure. But when she's out walking Pyewacket, because the cute sheriff requires that her cat must be put on a leash when it's out and about, because it is a big cat. They discover a body, and of course it is the new mystery to solve, and the ongoing flirtatiousness between Mitzi and the sheriff, and what plots unfold, and kind of what's going on there. And of course you have the paranormal, because I don't think I mentioned this in the first book, but the grandmother that left everything to her, the lawyer that they had that came and delivered all the package stuff to Mitzi for her to find out that she inherited all this stuff. He's like some sort of like warlock, and him and the grandmother developed a spell to basically bring Mitzi's grandmother's spirit back. So the grandmother haunts the bookstore that Mitzi inherited, and she has chosen the form of like her 30-year-old something self. So you have like this 30-year-old giving off very like old classic glam feels of a ghost, dealing with her granddaughter, and kind of having that kinship and relationship build that they never got to do when the grandmother was alive. So, but she adds this whole other element to it, which is great. But obviously we now have a new crime to solve, how it goes, and Mitzi's on the case. And once again, this was a 4-star. And we read this for the Escape the Readathon damage control to open canister number 3, which was labeled Final Step, because final step. Next up, we ended up picking up the arc for Wild Mate by Misty Wilds. We have a 5-star. I loved this book. This was a much darker, twisted, fated mate challenges scenario. Basically, you have Sienna, who is a wildling wolf shifter, and she is trying everything to get to the mate trials, because she lives in a world where there's this decay that's coming and populations are dwindling, and the only ones who can truly have a family, do things, are the mated pairs. And so one of the ways to go and get your mated pairs to go to this mate academy and train there, and while you're in training, find a mate and perpetuate while trying to fight this kind of rot that's coming on. And wildlings are really thought to be kind of the lowest of the low, because they don't have a pack, they don't have a family, and they're left out with the rot. And so there's this thought that the rot is going to consume them the longer they're out in the wilds, which is another reason why Sienna's like, no, I want to belong somewhere, because she has lost her pack and her family at an early age. She also has a secret, which is just exactly what type of shifter she is, because I know I said wolf, and yes, but there's more. So anyway, she goes to this academy, but she doesn't go alone, because the ex-wild shifter that she's kind of had this fling of, Revan, has followed her there. And Revan is older and very much in love with Sienna, but due to a betrayal that happened between them, Sienna wants nothing to do with him. She doesn't trust him anymore, and she's just like, no, I'm going to go and find my mate. Revan feels very much that Sienna is his mate, wants her to realize it so they can go and be together again. He loves her, unwavering loyalty, whatever, and he will do whatever he can to kind of like make her his again. So he goes there. While they're at the challenges, Sienna meets Alistair, who the fated mate bond snaps into place. Now, fated mates are different than the chosen mates, and they're considered to be a lot more of a blessing. But Alistair is from one of the more prominent, if the most prominent, wolf shifter pack. He is also the alpha's son, slated to be the alpha. And once again, Sienna is considered a wildling, and her shifting secret could maybe not be the greatest for their bond. So fighting against the bond there, from different backgrounds, different classes, that kind of thing, but also fated mate. And then you have Callum, and Callum is a vampire who is very much taken with Sienna, and he's kind of like the fun one, and he's got personality, and he doesn't mind that Revan and Alistair want Sienna. He's like, I'll share if I have to, and if neither of you guys are there, if you guys don't do what you need to do, then I have no problem in making her mine, and us just being together. He's like, and go any which way. And he's just back and enjoying the show. So I like Callum. I like Callum and I like Revan the best, personality wise. I just kind of liked them. Callum is my favorite, which is rare for me because I'm usually more of a shifter fan, not so much the vampire fan, but the vampire, I loved him in this one, just personality-wise, he was fun. So I definitely loved this, because you do have these trials that are meant to test you, and they are bloody, and they are gritty, and they are survival, all the while trying to do this whole finding your mate and having these different guys want to be with her, and what each may be, because obviously everybody has secrets, so that's going to play a part too. But I loved it. Highly, highly recommend if you're into a darker, more twisted world of shifter mated trials and tribulations and deaths on the line and all of that kind of stuff. It was really, really good. I gave it 5 stars. Like I said, I ended up reading this for Escape the Readathon, the Escape Pod, to read a book that matches the thumbnail. The book cover, she's wearing a red dress, so I know that Cass over from Covers of Cassidy had some thumbnails that she was wearing like a red sweater. So we went with it because the colors were matching and it was something you wore, so wearing something red was what I used it for. So we did that. And then of course we were going to go back to Mitzi Moon because we love her. And we ended up picking up book 3, which was Wings and Broken Things. And in this one, Mitzi is trying to solve the case of a hit and run, where the victim of the hit and run is our most beloved vet who had been taking care of Pyewacket due to some circumstances that had happened in the previous books. So she really wants to do this as a way to help this guy out because he's a really nice guy, and she wants to solve that and solve that crime. And, you know, see what's going to go on there. I don't want to give too much away because there are a lot of things that are developing from book 1 relationship-wise with Mitzi and the sheriff. There is also a new possible love interest in the works. So now the sheriff is starting to feel the heat, and you're starting to see a little bit more come out of the sheriff that of the feelings he might have been hiding. So I'm loving that that's being dragged out. I'm loving it. but there's a lot more mysteries yet to unfold because you're getting little tidbits of what's going to go on with this series. So I read this one. I gave it 4 stars, of course, because we are loving this series. And I read it for Escape the Readathon, the escape pods to press the orange button. Which brings us to our last book. Like I said, this was going to be a long one. I read a lot, so thank you for staying with us this long. And of course, we did Mitzi Moon again. We finished out with another audiobook for Mitzi Moon. And we read Sparks and Landmarks, once again by Trixie Silvertail. And in this one, a fire has started in the building next door, which is kind of this museum that is attached to the library that also is owned by the Moon family, Mitzi Moon. And now it's the crime of there was a body in this fire, and who is this? And now Mitzi's father comes under fire once again, to make a pun or whatever you want to call it. And so who's guilty? Who really committed the crime? What's going on? And Mitzi Moon once again is back on the case with Pyewacket at her side. We are loving our little sleuthing cat, or I should say big cat because he's bigger, but we are loving our sleuthing cat. We are loving Mitzi Moon. Of course, the grandmother ghost is back for all kind of fun, and it's a really, really fun series, and I can't wait to keep going with it because I like it. The audio narrator's fun. She gives the personality to Mitzi Moon. That's just fantastic. So we gave this one 4 stars as well, and we also read this for the Escape the Readathon, the escape pods to push the orange button. So how did we do for Escape the Readathon? We did not escape. My team, which was Team Engineers, I believe we were second, which was very frustrating because the last challenge, when they gave you buttons, I think there was a purple button, an orange button, and a green button. I wanted to press the orange button from the start. I wanted to do that, and I voted for the orange button, and they're like, no, we're gonna do purple button first. And I was like, okay. So we did the purple button. Wasn't the purple button. I was like, can we go do the orange button? Can we go and do the orange button? No, they were gonna go for the green button. The green button I felt was so obvious because, you know, I think green means go, and I'm like, no, they can't make it that easy, but we went for the green button. And it was not the green button. So now we're reading again to try to press the orange button. Lo and behold, I was right. The orange button was the way to go, which was frustrating for me because part of me wants to think that had we pushed the orange button first, maybe we would have beaten the team that got first and we would have been the ones to escape. Which of course is frustrating, but that is the game and that is what happens. And it was a lot of fun. Obviously, it was a highly reading intensive month for me and I enjoyed it immensely. So I just had fun. I really had a lot of fun with it, and I can't wait for next year's Escape the Readathon challenge, because maybe year 4 is when I have the team and we escape, because so far I have not escaped anything. But I've been having fun doing it, and that's the best part of it. So hopefully you enjoyed this rather lengthy wrap-up video. Hopefully there was a book that either you read and you were like, oh my God, she loved it too, yay. Or the fact that maybe I have just now sparked curiosity for you to pick up one of these books, one of these series, and start having some fun with it yourself. But I hope May was a great month for you guys. I know now we're in June. This will be coming out at the end of June. So once again, like the end of another month, but it happens and hopefully we will get back on track soon. We got about another month of summer break to go. So worst case scenario, it's a little wonky filming wise for the rest of the summer. And then the boys go back to school and we can get back on track with when videos are coming out and when we're filming, because time will be a little bit more mommy's time at that. But like I said, for now, anytime the kiddos are gonna want me, they're gonna get my attention. So that is just how it goes. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope maybe, like I said, you found a new read or you enjoyed just listening to me rant about the books that I loved and why. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope the weather is treating you well. Stay warm, stay cool, depending on where you are. Stay dry if you're getting hit with a whole bunch of rain like us. And just take care of yourselves and enjoy your summer. And I will see you guys in the next video.